Hey, have you ever had the thought, I said it, why didn't they get it? I know, I've been there. I've had that frustration too. And it usually means we didn't communicate effectively the first time around. So what I want to do in this video is break down the components of communication, because it's more than just our words we're sharing. You know, long after your words are forgotten, people will remember how you made them feel. Emotion is a large part of the communication equation. And to understand how that emotion is communicated, we've got to break communication down. I'm Paul Peixoto with WholeWorker, and as you can see, I'm in editing mode right now, but I want to take you to a clip from one of my recent corporate trainings. You're going to see me in my native habitat, sort of Paul Peixoto in the wild. I want to take you through about 4 minutes of some basic fundamentals in communication. This you must understand if you want to communicate effectively, all right? So we're gonna go to that clip in a second, but before we do, I want to remind you to subscribe, like this video, and when you subscribe, ring that bell so that you get notified whenever I post a new video. Okay? So that's it for now. I hope you enjoy the clip. I'll see you on the other side. And stick with me to the end because I've got a free download for you that'll help instill these principles in your communication psyche, all right? Enjoy the clip. Back in the late 60s, early 70s, Dr. Albert Mehrabian found, in fact, yes, there are 3 channels that we use, or 3 tools, and we use them in these percentages. Now, we've got kind of a odd-shaped room today, so let me know if you can't see anything. I have 2 flip charts. I can sort of do a Phil Donahue and run back and forth. I don't want to, but I can. All right, so we found out, forget this 0 here, that we have 3 channels that we use regularly, and we use them in these proportions: 55%, 38%, and 7%. Anybody familiar with this data at all? Okay, good. So I could pretty much tell you anything I want. That was a joke. You can laugh at it. All right, 55% of the impact, you have to listen to my words, parse my words carefully, because this is often taught incorrectly. 55% of the potential impact I can make with you, as I'm speaking to you right now, happens in the visual realm. Okay, in the visual realm. So the widest channel available to us is the visual channel. This is going to be fun writing with a thin Sharpie here. All right, so 55%. So not the lion's share, but the widest channel available to us. Closely followed behind that. Let me back up. When I said parse my words, I'm not saying that 55% of your message is visual. If you come up to a stop sign, how much of that message is visual? 100% of it is visual. No one's talking to you. Unless the little voice in your head is saying stop. All right, so 55% of the potential impact is visual. So what is that channel? That's everything your eyes are seeing. Me, how I'm dressed, mostly up here in my face, eye contact, my flip chart at this point, slides later on, 55% is visual. We are mostly visual learners. We have calculated that somewhere between 80 and 85% of new information comes in through our eyes. All right? So visual channel, no surprise. That's the widest channel available to us. So what you're doing with your body and what you're doing with your slides is really, really important when you're communicating to another human being. Closely followed behind that. And what I mean by that is the difference between 55% and 38% is obviously not as great as the difference between 38% and 7. Something really radical is going on there. We'll get to that in a second. Closely followed behind that, 38% of the potential impact that you make when you're communicating, whether it's one-on-one, and that's what we're talking about a lot today, or one to a group as I am with you today, happens in the vocal realm. All right, in the vocal realm. Now, I'm not talking about my words. I'm talking about my voice and how I use it. We're going to talk about that a little bit as well today in the morning. So 38%, so look at this, 93% of the potential impact of your message, whatever it is, something you're chatting with your teammate about regarding a client, something you're conversing with a teammate about over email. 93% of the potential impact of that communication, how we determine what that message is, falls outside of, what do you think the 7% is? What's left? The words, yeah. The actual message. Or for the purpose of my alliteration here, we'll call it the verbal channel. Okay? 7%. And all of us inside groan because, you know, this is what we're all about. We're in a data-driven industry in pharma. It's all about the data, right? So, I'm not saying you shouldn't have a message. Obviously, you got to have a message. But what this tells me right off the bat is I need to know what my message is. I need to be clear about my message. And today, with all the means we have of communicating, we can get that message lost in a lot of gobbledygook. Can I use that word? Have you ever heard that before? Okay, gobbledygook. We've got to hone that message. We've got to know what that message is and what that message is not, what I'm not trying to communicate here in this instance. Now, the good news for us when we're face-to-face or when we're talking on the phone, especially, is that we can do a whole bunch of things up here to make sure that our 7% message gets across. Right? Makes sense? Anybody have any questions about that before I continue on? Okay, I hope you found those 3 channels of impact helpful to you in your communication. Just remember that most communication takes place outside of our actual words, outside of the actual message. To remind you of these principles, I've got a 2-page downloadable cheat sheet that'll cover all the things and summarize all the things we just talked about here in this video. Now, you can connect with us on all the social media. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. So connect with the WholeWorker community that way. As a matter of fact, right now, what I'd like to do is take a screenshot and tweet that baby out and let people know that you're learning how to communicate better with WholeWorker. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and ring that bell so that you get notified every time I post a new video. And before you go, I want you to leave what your key takeaway was from this video in the comments below. I'd love to hear that. I'm Paul Peixoto with WholeWorker. Thanks for watching.